The next few weeks is going to be wild for any JRPG lover. We have a lot of titles coming up and I'm really excited. But for now, I am covering a beloved classic that is now being remastered for modern consoles. And that is for Suikoden 1 and 2 HD, which is coming out on all platforms for $50. So it's basically you're paying $25 for each game. But is it worth getting? Well, I'm going to try to answer that in this video for everything you need to know before you buy Suikoden 1 and 2 HD. Before we start this video, if you end up liking the video, then please hit that like button. And if you're interested in content like this, then please subscribe. Alrighty, on to the video. Let's get the ball rolling with what the heck is Suikoden, because the name does have a meaning. So if you guys don't know, Suikoden is a Japanese name for a Chinese novel called Shihuzan. I am really sorry if I mispronounced that. In English, this is translated into water margin, or in some translations, outlaws of the marsh, or all men are brothers. So basically the story boils down to a group of 108 outlaws that essentially rebelled against the government at the time. Historically, this was when the Song dynasty was in power and was written as a way to criticize the government. And Suikoden is loosely based on this classic Chinese novel. And even though Suikoden is not a one-to-one depiction of what happens in the novel, a lot of the stuff is taken from that novel, even down to the 108 protagonists you get to use in the game, which is the same number as the warriors in the original novel. So that is a snippet of what Suikoden is about. And that is where the name of the game came from. Really good stuff. If you sit here and say that games don't need to mean anything, then get out of here. Games are an amazing way to tell fantastic stories. Now that we went over what it might mean, what is the story of Suikoden? Well, that is our next point. For this portion, I'm going to be talking about the first game first and then break down the second game. For the first game, you play as a protagonist, which you could actually name, but they do have a canon name. The canon name for the protagonist is Misc Stuff. But for simplicity's sake and my sanity's sake, I'm just going to refer to him as Tyr. Tyr is the son of Misc Stuff, who is the great general of the Scarlet Moon Empire. Born into nobility, the protagonist is raised in the imperial capital. He is essentially trained to serve the empire just like his father. Early on, he completes minor missions for the government alongside his loyal servant Gremio and close friends Cleo, Pan, and Ted. However, as Tyr ventures on beyond the walls of the palace, he quickly realizes that life in the empire is not always as glorious as it might seem. Ordinary citizens face a lot of hardships, especially when it comes to their taxes and figuring out how to survive day to day. And it exposes Tyr's naivety when it came to the world, so he's pretty shook. After many events that take place, he decides to join the Liberation Army. Now, the Liberation Army is a rebel force fighting to overthrow the empire and restore justice. And as you rise through the ranks, you begin to gather the legendary 108 Stars of Destiny. This includes a collection of warriors, strategists, and unlikely heroes destined to unite under the leadership to take down the empire. However, in the center of the chaos lies the Soul Ether Rune, which is a powerful and cursed true rune that comes into your possession, and it plays a larger part of what happens in Suikoden. Alrighty, now for Suikoden 2. Suikoden 2, we follow Ryu, a young soldier in the Highland Kingdom, who was betrayed when his unit, the Unicorn Brigade, is massacred by their commander, Luca Blight, all to instigate a war for the city-state of Johnston. Fleeing from this, Ryu and his best friend Jowie become embroiled in a war between Highland and Johnston. As the war intensifies, Ryu gathers the 108 Stars of Destiny, uniting a diverse group of allies to fight for peace. And this is not just a tale of heroes and villains, it's also a tale of two friends and betrayal. Alrighty, so that's the gist of the story. It's very cool, very dramatized, and I can't wait to experience it myself. Looks really awesome, but the gameplay itself is a little bit unique, but that's what makes it really stand out. So in this point, we're going over the gameplay. Both of the games have very similar gameplay with some differences, but to its core, Suikoden is a traditional turn-based combat where you command up to 6 characters in battle, which the date that this game came out was really unheard of. Now, this setup allows you to strategize party members to be either in the front row or the back row. And where you put them in battle does dictate how the battle goes. So take into account if they have short, mid, or long range attacks. The short range attacks can only attack in the front line and targets enemies in the front line. Mid-range attacks can place in both front or back row, but can only attack frontline enemies. Finally, long range can be placed on either line and can attack enemies from either line as well. So they could essentially attack the front row and the back row, doesn't matter which row. And it's good to have a combination of all three combinations in your party to really take advantage of these battles. And while having 108 recruitable characters is pretty daunting, the number is actually like 46 that you could actually use in battles. I mean, 46 is equally as daunting, but think about it like a Fire Emblem game. Now, the runes that I mentioned in the story also play a role in the gameplay, serving as the primary method for magical attacks and ability attacks. There are several types of runes, each with its own set of spells and abilities that a character can equip. Think about it like the materia system from Final Fantasy VII. So it's really recommended that you collect as much runes as you can. It will make your journey way easier. Now, apart from the regular battles, the game does include large-scale tactical battles. These are strategic encounters where you command entire armies and must make critical decisions to achieve victory, which is as simple as I could put it, but in Suikoden 2, there are more elements like unit types and terrain. And there's also duels, which you could one-on-one battle and play it like rock, paper, scissors, but you know, with swords and axes and stuff. Alrighty, so attack beats defense, defense beats desperate attack, and desperate attack beats attack. So, you know, have that memorized. Now, the last aspect I want to touch on when it comes to the gameplay is the headquarters, which is essentially a base building portion of the game where you can use your recruits to build facilities throughout your headquarters, like inns, a smithy, and even a tavern. You gotta keep morale high, you know? Now, there are differences between Suikoden 1 and Suikoden 2, but in short, the differences is basically like quality of life changes like every sequel of a game goes through. Think of it like Suikoden 2 is a more polished version of Suikoden 1. While there is changes between the two games, what are the changes between the remaster and the original? Well, in this part of the video, that's what I'm going to discuss. Of course, with any remaster, there are going to be changes from the original. And first things first, the art of the game. All the visuals from the game have been redone from the ground up, which is crazy. And it was done by series veteran Junko Kawano, who actually worked on the original game back in 1995. And let me tell you, the differences are like night and day, because given a more modern polish, the visuals don't look as muddy as they did in the original. Not to say the original was bad or ugly, it's just the newer ones are more refined in my opinion. But it's really cool to see this art redone and reborn for the HD modern era. Another change is the obvious graphical improvement done to the entire game. Every pixel sprite and background art has been redone while still retaining its old school kind of vibe. And it's not just a simple AI retexture job, they actually went through and changed the graphical assets and made it more widescreen. Going along with the redesigning of the sprites and backgrounds, they also enhanced the audio. And in my opinion, that's what a remaster should strive for. It's not just porting the game, you gotta change it to fit the consoles. Instead of doing the old spit shine and slapping $60 on it. And chief among the big changes is the overhaul of the UI. The fun thing is, you can actually see the redesigned UI in like real time, because the first few trailers had the old redesign and the more modern trailers have the new one. And this all changed because fans complained about the old UI and how clunky it is, so Konami went along and changed it, which is a very good sign because fan input, especially in a classic kind of remaster, is very important, and if it's not an unreasonable demand, I feel like companies should listen to what the fans want. And now it's revamped with a new and sleeker design. But not every change has to be big. There could be subtle changes that really enhance the way you play. Now these are called quality of life changes, and that is our next topic. Number one, you can fast forward battles, but according to some fans, it's kind of a weird thing to have. The reason being that battles are already fast to begin with. Another battle feature is auto battles, which is basically what the name implies, and that coupled with the new speed of the game makes it perfect for grinding levels. And these are the quality of life changes I love to see from a classic, because I don't know if you guys know, but I'm not really a big fan of retro games because they have a lot of clunk to them. So remasters or remakes are the best way for me to experience classic games. They also added a conversation log so you can read what the person said in case you missed it. There's also an information bar at the bottom of the screen to let you know what each command does in battle. But the piece of resistance is the inclusion of difficulty settings. There is an easy setting ending if you just want to focus on the game, hard mode if you want something a little bit more challenging, and normal mode if you want to balance between story and challenge. Knowing me, I'm probably going to play on normal, but I don't judge if you play on easy, normal, or hard. This channel ain't for that. And finally, the last quality of life change is autosave. Please still manual save. You do not want to trust the autosave because sometimes it gets it wrong. Honestly, I'm really glad with these quality of life changes. It makes the game more bearable to play, especially for newcomers to the series or people playing for the first time like me. And hopefully, longtime fans of the game really enjoy the remasters. Now for the miscellaneous stuff. Like clockwork, this is the portion where I put stuff that didn't fit in the previous portions. This one unfortunately is going to be short because Konami has been kind of hush-hush when it comes to information for this game. So I did sprinkle in some fun facts about the original games. The first point is the original cover of Suikoden 1, at least for the American release, looks something like a glam metal album. It just looks so weird and Americanized. I don't know, something seems off about it. Luckily, it was redefined for Suikoden 2. Next point, Suikoden has 3 games apart from Suikoden 1 and Suikoden 2. From what I've seen, Suikoden 4 has to be the worst in the series according to fans. And of course, like many JRPGs, it does have a lot of spin-offs and merch. So that is it for today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you found it helpful, then please hit that like button. Would appreciate it. And if you like this video and want to see more, please consider subscribing. I would appreciate that as well. Please let me know what you guys think of Suikoden. Are you gonna get it? Are you not? Do you have any questions? Tell me all that in the comments down below. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the day, and as always, play a good game. Peace, peace.